Welcome everyone. This is the night edition of my CFN HQ Hangout, and we're doing a Coaches Corner. And a couple weeks ago, I had interviewed our newest coach, Coach Matt Fallon, and we had a really good conversation. So I do plan to do it with all the coaches. So second newest to our coaching staff is Coach Christian O'Brien, aka everyone knows him as the Rabbit. And I think we need to have another nickname for him, but we'll make one up eventually.
No, man. I don't know about that. I don't have too many nicknames. I want to stick with the Rabbit. Rabbit's good.
Let me ask you a question, Rabbit.
Sure.
And I'm not sure everyone knows this story. Hold on one second. This is what happens on my YouTubes is my kids are down here making noise.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. You never knew why we called you Rabbit, did you?
I did not.
And then we finally told you one day, and just so everyone's clear why we call him
I'd like
Rabbit,
to make it a mystery, though. I like to make it a mystery.
Why people call you Rabbit? Well, listen.
Yeah. That should be insider information.
Well, Rabbit, I want to make sure we break this story first because I feel like you're going to be this OCR celebrity, and we're going to talk about your fascination with Spartans and this OCR racing and stuff because I know you're super into that, so I want to highlight that today. But okay. I feel that, you know what, let's not even say it yet. We'll let it wait. But I feel like people will be coming to you in the world of Spartan and asking you a lot of questions when they see what you're about to do.
Well, I'm hoping so. Yes.
So can we, this is usually how my recordings go. So can we backtrack to why we call you Rabbit? Can I break it on here or what?
Whatever. You're the host, man.
All right. Break it. Let me break it. And I can say I broke it first. But Christian was an athlete. How long were you an athlete at our gym for before you became how long have you been there in total? Like when did you join?
At least 5 years. It might be more. I think it's more than 5 years. I can't really remember exactly. I don't think it's quite 6. So just say 5 years, 5.5 years.
5 years. And when was the open that we did where you were a team captain? And we'll probably talk about that. What year was that open? Was that 2017?
No, that was 2018 or yeah. Well,
yeah, I think it was. Okay,
it got messed up because the 2020 was actually in the spring. So it was 2019 open, which was the fall.
Yeah. So you used to come into those workouts at a certain time every Saturday. And me and Steve M would be sitting near the front of the class. And you used to come in this winter cap, like I'd like to call it a Scully. And you used to have your hood up. And you reminded me and Steve of Rabbit from the movie 8 Mile. It was Eminem's character in 8 Mile. So we continued to call you Rabbit every single time you walked in the building. And the crazy thing was you never acknowledged us. So we thought either you hated it or you just thought it was, oh, yeah, they're just being them. I'm not going to respond to it. And you never said anything.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea you were talking to me. I thought you were talking to somebody else.
Every day that we called you this for months. Because one day, and I don't know why we asked you this particular day, months later, but we're like, yo, Rabbit, what's up, man? And you came over to us, and I think we finally asked you after 6 months, why do you never respond when we call you Rabbit? Do you not like it? And you told us, I had no idea you were even talking to me. No idea. For all those months.
Yeah. No, people at the gym actually had asked me, who the hell is Rabbit? And I'm like, I don't know who Rabbit. I don't know who the hell they're talking about. You started posting stuff on Wodify about Rabbit, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's how Rabbit got the name. Now people just think it's because you're really fast at hiking and all things Spartan.
That would be a better story, actually, if I was really fast at something, but unfortunately not.
it would have been, but you know, the story is what the story is. So you've been a member, you've been at CrossFit Newtown for 5 years. And then one year you had this crazy idea that you were going to start coaching, or you wanted to coach. I have a feeling I know when that kind of clicked for you, but when was it for you that you were like, yeah, I want to give this a try. Like, I want to coach.
Well, back up to why I started CrossFit in the first place was to do OCR racing. At the time, it was not Spartan. It was actually this one here, Savage Race, Rugged Maniac, Tough Mudders, a bunch of local ones. And CrossFit came to me as a way to get better at OCR, not so much CrossFit itself. I had really not much interest in CrossFit other than it could help me get better at racing. And so I was surprised when I got there, there was nobody wanted to really do them. And I remember coming to you and saying, hey, you know, maybe we get a team together, because I was at these races and there was CrossFit teams there. And I was surprised that nobody really at the gym, other than a few people had done them. Gene Guger, Steve, you know, usual guys now. But and so you were not really all that interested. And so we ended up getting a small group of us. I think there was like 5 of us at the time. It was me and Steve and I think Rob G, Gene, and we did a Spartan and came back. I thought it was a pretty good time. And then every time we went, we got a few more people, and we kind of built it up to like 13. And then at that point, you started showing interest, and like you saw that other people were into it. And so we started recruiting, you know, trying to get that first CrossFit Newtown team, I think three years ago, at least 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And so that kind of started the idea of me getting into coaching, because I was kind of loosely organizing it, kind of telling people what to expect, stuff like that. But I think that the final piece was when we did the Open, and I was the captain of the Open team, and that was pretty good. I really enjoyed that, and then I thought I had a little bit to offer with the OCR stuff, and then from talking to you, I decided, you know, I can't just, if I wanted to become a coach at a CrossFit gym, I can't just say, oh, I'm going to do OCR training. I actually have to go and get the level 1. And really taking the level 1 was what really made me love the idea of it, because I wasn't really expecting a whole lot. But then after taking that, I was like, wow, there's really a lot more to this than I originally thought. And to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't really think coaching was going to be all that difficult. You know, because watching all the coaches at CFN, it didn't seem to me like they were having a hard time doing anything. It seemed like they were just showing up and kind of just, you know, doing stuff. And as an athlete, I'm not thinking about all the little things. I'm thinking about me, and that's it. You know, I'm not thinking about watching, you know, 18 people. And I'll never forget the first class that you were kind of mentoring me. You were standing there watching me, and I was not nervous at all. I mean, I think I was coaching pretty much everybody I had been friends with for several years. And I went over the workout, you know, a few times in my head and how I was going to present it. And as soon as the clock started, I totally blanked out. Like, I couldn't remember what the heck I was going to say. I remember Michelle was sitting on the rower, and I'm like trying to explain rowing, and I'm like, I couldn't remember a word. And it was kind of a strange thing for me, because it just kind of came out of nowhere, because I didn't think it was all that involved. It's really, as an athlete, I don't think you really notice how much is really going on until you actually do it. So that's pretty much how I got into the idea of it. And as soon as did my first one, I'm like, I wasn't very good. And just my personality is I just want to get better. So I think I'm very analytical as far as like, I'll do something and I'm like, okay, either that sucked or it was good. If it was good, how can I make it better? You know, so even on my good classes, I'm like, I could have done, you know, X, Y, Z better. So I always like to kind of improve on stuff. So it kind of fits my personality, I think.
No, it totally does. And you answered a bunch of my questions I wanted to ask you, and you said some really cool, interesting stuff. And I had this conversation with a lot of coaches about, you know, you don't realize how much work goes into your presentation for you to run a good class. And I think a lot of athletes think it's just because we know how to do the exercises, we can coach it, right? And coaching's more than just knowing technique, right? Like how to do a power clean. Being a good coach is also understanding, how does your class flow? You know, logistically, how are you going to handle the warm up? And what scales are you going to use for a certain movement? I saw today, like even Coach Michelle was coaching, and, you know, I thought one of her scales, I forget if it was Coach Michelle or someone else, but we had bar muscle ups in the workout. And some of the scales were jumping bar muscle ups, or like a jumping chest to bar from a box. But what she realized, and she did this beautifully, I loved it, was she had to create more modifications because the box jumps were used in the workout. And how were you going to get 18 athletes to be doing box jumps plus use their box to also do some kind of jumping pull-up variation or jumping bar muscle up? So she had to like recreate, although we had a plan going in, she had to recreate it because she saw that issue in her class. And that takes a lot of experience, because it's something a lot of people don't think about. You know, what could go wrong in a class? And when you don't think about it prior, can you fix it within the class and still run a good session with a lot of people in there, and a lot of people that are looking at you to lead them through the workout and not just the exercises? And I've had a lot of high level conversations with you about actually running a class logistically. You know, I've learned things like, we had a conversation about a warm up one day and how we wanted to do it and why we wanted to do it. And it was really, really cool because, and you're right, that's your personality. That's how you think of things. And I think it's one of your strengths, you know. And what I saw from you, and I want to ask you about this, but what I saw from you is you were not good at that, or you didn't have a lot of time to process that before quarantine. And then all of a sudden you came back from quarantine and you were a totally different coach, you know? And my question to you is, do you think coaching virtually, I know how I feel about this, but do you think coaching virtually changed how you coach in the class?
It did, because, well, let me, before I answer, I love coaching in person now more than virtually, but I think being forced to coach virtually for however many months we did it, it helped me iron out a lot of things. I was able to, first of all, it's easy when I have everybody up on my screen and I can highlight one person. I don't have to have my head on a swivel. Everybody's like right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just more comfortable at the time virtually because I didn't have to worry about the music. I didn't really have to worry about the clock. I mean, I kind of kept the clock, but, you know, a lot of people, they didn't even want the clock up, you know, you know, so it's just easier. I think it made me calm down more than anything. So I think it's a little bit because it's virtual, but also a little bit because I just got used to the idea of directing where I want people to go. So I'm very comfortable with that. I think the hardest part for me now is, like, if everybody showed up at tomorrow's 6:30 class and they're all at the same level, right? Everybody's new. It's easy to go in and be like, okay, well, I know everybody here isn't doing a bar muscle up, or I don't know what the workout is off the top of my head, but just say tomorrow is bar muscle ups. Well, nobody there is doing bar muscle ups, right? So I know my progression is this. But when I have athletes that are, you know, very beginner, then we got the intermediates, and then we have like the studs that are, you know, going crazy and they can do every single movement and be done half the time everybody else. It's like, how do I coach a class to give value to everybody in the class? Like, I can go through a basic movement pattern for a deadlift, but guy in the back, like Matt Fillon, is in the back. He knows, like, I almost feel like I'm not really giving him what he needs, where if I just kind of cater to him, then I'm missing out on, the basics that other people might need. So I'm still kind of juggling that. I need to get better at that. But I'm getting there, I think.
And you're right. And that, I think it's great as a coach, as a new coach, that you're even thinking about that, right? Because a lot of people won't even think about that and consider that an issue of how you run the class. And it is, right? Because
definitely,
we
like even just the explanation of the workout. Like, if I go in and say, okay, yeah, we're doing 20 clean and jerks, and then we're going into, there got to be power cleans, and then you're going to go right over into snatches, and like, if you're an athlete that's been there for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But then somebody that's brand new, they're like, what? Like, they have no clue what I'm even saying. So I got to really watch how I present it so that everybody knows what's going on. So that's my biggest challenge. I'm definitely more comfortable being in front of everybody, and I'm friends with mostly everybody there anyway. And people I'm not really friends with, that's just because they're new. So I'm sure it's just a matter of time before I just get to know them as well.
Yeah, it would be interesting to ask some of these new athletes, how long you think Christian's been coaching? Because it's crazy, because I think because everyone on the coaching staff just does such a good job, like such a good job, that I think the level of even the newest coach has to try so hard to get up to that level of coaching. I think the perception to most people is he's probably been coaching for like 5-6 years. Honestly, I don't think some of those folks that think of you as or have you in their classes, I don't think they realize how new of a coach you are.
What's interesting is that, so Janice started coaching right before me. Well, not right before, but she was coaching prior to me. And I didn't really notice it a whole lot before I took the level 1, but after I took the level 1 and from conversations with you, I know what to look for when somebody is coaching a class. Before, as an athlete, I'm just like, I'm hearing them talk, but I kind of already know what I need, where I'm going, stuff like that. But it was interesting to me to see Janice when she was very new, and I would say, okay, well, she didn't do that right. She could have done this. She could have done that. But now, a year later, it's like I can see the difference. Like, I see how much better she's gotten. And, it's like you don't see it like a little bit at a time, because I'm constantly going in and seeing her coach. But then I look back every once in a while, if I'm just there watching, and I like to watch other coaches coach.
So do I. I love it.
I notice how much better she's gotten just in the last 6 months and a year and all like that. So it's just, I think it's just a matter of time. You got to get your time in. You got to put your time in. The level 1 was great, but it really doesn't get you ready for all the little extra things that you kind of have to figure out on your own in front of people. So
I'll tell you what, the level I've been through the level 2 CrossFit certification, and I honestly I have a lot of certifications. I think it was one of the best coaching certifications that I've been to, and because you're really having to coach and you're getting critiqued on your coaching, and it is about the movements, but it's more about, are you seeing, are you correcting, how are you communicating it? And I think it's a tough certification. And I look at, and a few years ago, I would look at our coaching staff and say, I don't know if they got it yet to go get that. But now, every coach we have, every coach, in my opinion, would murder it. They'd be the best coaches there, amongst the best coaches there, by far.
I think everybody has to kind of find their own way. Like, it's be easy for you to tell me to go in, you got to do this, this, and this, but I think it's better to kind of give, like how you've been doing lately, kind of give an outline and kind of letting us do our own thing, finding our own method, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten better. I remember when I very first started, I would see somebody with a fault and say to deadlift, or not so much a deadlift, but like a clean, trying to do a clean. And there's 20 different things going wrong with the lift, and I can see it. And I'd say, okay, you got to do this, then you got to do this, then you got to do this, then you got to do this. And they come up to the bar and they freeze because they don't know. Like, I just told them 20 different things that they have to change. So I think I've gotten better at focusing on something that you can immediately change. And I tell them, like, think of that, nothing else. And then once you get that, then we'll move on to the next piece. And it was funny. I had a conversation with a couple athletes the other day, and we were talking about the clean. And I just said, okay, forget everything else. I want you to focus on this one thing, right? And they were doing that. And then as I walked away, I saw another athlete come over, and they say, oh, you should do this, and you should do this, and you should do this. And it's like, I think it's information overload a lot of times. So I think that was one of my main things I had to learn. Like, just give them enough to get them better right then, especially when you have a class of 18 people. I can't take a half an hour with one person. I got to fix one thing and go to the next person, and so on.
You do. And then when you fix that one thing, I mean, let's just say in a clean, their setup was off, right? So that's like the biggest thing, right? The setup's terrible. You got to fix the setup. We're not going to worry about what they were doing after the knees yet, if they were basically doing it okay, right? Like safely, soundly. Like, the setup's bad. We got to fix the setup. Now you notice that they're not getting their elbows as high as you would like, right? That's the next flaw that you may have seen. Okay, make sure that you go drop that on them next time, so they know that's what you're looking for next. Because you're right. If you give them, you have to make sure your knees are behind the bar, shoulders are over the bar, hips are higher than the knees. Then once you pull it past the knees are going to move back. Then the knees are going to move back in front as it moves to the power position. If you say it like that, they're not going to get it. We have to fix one thing at a time.
This actually goes back to before I was coaching. I remember we were trying for a 1 rep max snatch, and I kept trying it, and you were watching me, and I couldn't get it. And I'd walk up to the bar, and I'd be like right on top of the bar for, seemed like eternity, probably 45 seconds, just gripping the bar and re-gripping the bar. And he came over to me and said, you're thinking too much. You just got to go over it, and you just got to do them. You just got to go. So that's part of it. Like, I think you can't give them too much to think about. You just got to get moving. So that was, I think that was my biggest hurdle at first, is just information overload. I don't know if it was my biggest. I had a lot of hurdles, but just trying to think. Like, I think I'm still somewhat developing my own kind of way, which I like. So I don't know that I'll ever be 100%. I don't think I'll ever be 100% happy with everything, how I do it, but I think it gets a little better every time. So I'm happy about that.
And I think it's the right attitude to have. It's still the attitude that I have. I'm always the most critical after one of my sessions, seeing what I could have done better, how I could have ran better, do I have better cues for certain things? But I mean, that, at the end of the day, you just gotta want to always get better. And as long as you have that attitude, you're going to be a great coach, which I think you are. I did want to ask you a little something about what you did this year as far as this OCR program, and kind of what it was and what it was supposed to do that we kind of got canceled and stuff. So, because I still think people are asking me, what's this OCR stuff? Like, they don't even know what it is. So what did you do this year? Why did we do it? And what was your, what were you thinking?
Well, so I've done, I don't even know how many races now. Spartan is actually relatively new to me. I think I've done, I don't know, maybe 15 Spartans or something like that. But I've done quite a few others prior to that. And so what happened was I got invited to do this Rugged Maniac, which is short. It's like a 5K OCR. And I went in, I'm like, I didn't know what to expect at all. I was like duct taping my running shoes to my feet so they wouldn't fall off. I mean, I had no idea what to bring. I was wearing cotton, everything. I didn't have any kind of a nutrition going in. I just ate whatever. And let me tell you, I was in pretty bad shape at the time. I mean, to look back and see how much I struggled with a 5K race was pretty ridiculous. But just from, without any coaching on my own, and just from doing them, I mean, some years I'm doing like, 6 races a year, and just learning, okay, this worked, this didn't work, and then it really started taking off once I started going to the Spartans with the guys from CrossFit Newtown. And, just talking to them, like, hey, what did you bring? And why what do you think about these shoes? And what's in your pack and stuff like that. So it's kind of like what I've done myself, plus what everybody else, like Steve and Rob G and Gene, all those guys, kind of give me input on what worked for them. And so basically what I offered with the OCR program was like, kind of a buildup of what I think are the most important aspects of the strength portion. Well, CrossFit in general is good for OCR. So you're pretty much well prepared, but there are a few things that are a little bit different that will help you out. Mainly grip strength and trails, running up hills. The Tyler Hill Challenge is one of those things. So I wanted to have a program that kind of built up the little things that were missing from CrossFit to help get you through an OCR race. Because let me tell you, it sucks to show up for an OCR and not be ready. You're going to suffer if you don't train right, if you don't have the right gear. So I love doing it. And so that's how I came about with that idea. So I think it's worked pretty well. Unfortunately, we don't have an actual Spartan to run this year, but and it's constantly evolving too. There's certain things that. Go ahead.
What are we doing? Because you ran this Spartan program, this OCR program, and how many sessions did you run? You started in August, right? You ran 1 or 2 in August?
Yeah, there's 6 total. We have our last session coming up in 2 weeks.
What's that going to be?
So that's going to be inside a gym. So we do one on the trail, and then we do one at the gym. So it alternates every other one. The trail ones, we started out with like a 3 mile with some little body weight movements in there. And then we went to a 5 mile. And then our last one was 7 miles, which is typically the Spartan length that we like to try and do. It's usually like a 7 to 9 mile race. So that was more about just getting trail miles, because trail is different than running on asphalt. beats you up in a different way. And if you're not used to it, it can really ruin your day. But so we kind of built that up. So trail runs were basically just about miles, building up miles.
And what were the gym sessions like? Like, what was your mindset with those, and how did you create those workouts?
Gym sessions were, I would usually focus on one portion. It's usually lower body or grip strength. So it was like, we did the first one, we did a bunch of lunges and like just picking up odd objects. We did sandbags and box step ups with sandbags and stuff like that. But it was also part of the mental game where I like didn't want them to know how much time they had. Then I turned the radio off so they were working out in silence, because it's more of a mental thing on Spartans than anything else. I see a lot of people give up early on in those races just because they can't grasp, going on for another couple hours. They're suffering pretty bad in the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and they're like, we got like 3 more hours to this, and they just don't want to do it. So it was physical and mental. So that was the first session. The second session was more of a obstacle type preparedness. So we did like a variation of a bear crawl with a dumbbell, and that's pretty much a straight up, copy off the bear crawl, which is going to be for under barbed wire and stuff like that. And then we did a sandbag clean, which you're going to be picking up sandbags, you're going to be picking up Atlas stones, stuff like that. So it's odd objects. And obviously we had the burpee station, which unless you are really good, you're going to end up doing burpees at some point for a missed obstacle.
Yeah, and I see you added. I see you filled up some buckets. So you had buckets in one of them. Was that that's the last one you were talking about?
Yeah. So we did the sled pushes was the last one prior to that, and then we did intervals. So in between rounds, there were 6-minute rounds, and then in between those, you had to go out with your partner and move the buckets. It was 200 meters. One of the partners carried the bucket. The other one carried plates, but they couldn't grip them like this. They were supposed to kind of hold them with their hands like this, and it taxes your grip. And they had 2 minutes to actually 2 minutes and 30 seconds to complete that and get back in the building. Otherwise, there was a burpee penalty. So that was a little bit fun. I wish I had actually made it a little bit shorter, because nobody ended up doing any burpees, extra burpees. So, but they ended up, I think everybody enjoyed that one. Had a little bit of. So originally we were all supposed to do this program and do the Spartan Beast in Palmerton, but that got canceled because of the pandemic. So I know we're doing another session at the gym in 2 weeks, and is there going to be a culminating event for this program? That's the plan. We're looking at, I think it's October 10th. Let me look at my phone here. October 10th is a Saturday. We want to do something at Tyler. It's not going to be on a trail. It's going to be pretty much all on the asphalt. The plan is to have obstacles at certain parking lots. It's going to be a distance of about 8 miles or so. We haven't actually ran the whole route yet. I've kind of pieced it together with Brian Brownsville. He's helped me a lot with this stuff. Brian has done pretty much all the trails with me, kind of setting up routes and stuff like that. And he's helping me with Tyler as well. So yes, October 10th, I think we're going to have a good event. Hopefully
Awesome.
Everybody will be interested in doing it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm hoping for Spartan to come back, but in the meantime, I think this will be really good substitute for it, and I think everybody would have a good time.
Definitely. I'm excited for it because I know you've been planning, meticulously planning it, because I've heard little bits of it from between you and Brian. So I'm excited about it, and I will start promoting that soon so people know when it is and make sure they sign up for it. And I think that's a good place to end. Actually, just one quick thing about Coach Rabbit. Coach Rabbit invited me over his house on Saturday for the first time in my life, I ate deer heart. Just so people know, Christian's also an avid hunter. And I went over there because I trusted the guy on serving me up some good deer heart. So that's something that probably a lot of people don't know about Coach Christian that they'll know now.
That was good stuff, though, wasn't it? Were you disappointed? That was good.
No, it was very good. It was I didn't expect it to be like that, and I would probably eat it again if Coach Christian prepared it for me.
Yeah. Well, I have to work on that. I'm going out again this week, so.
All right, good.
We'll see how
All
it
right,
works
man.
out.
So listen, Rabbit, that was great, man. Thanks for your time tonight. I know it's late. We both wake up early in the morning. So we'll end it there, and we'll let all the listeners have a great time listening to this edition of Coaches Corner.
All right. That sounds good, man.
All right,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
All right.
And
See you, man. Have a good night.
Soon. All right. You too.
All right. See ya.
See ya.